What's up, guys? Welcome to my first ever Yap session. This is mainly just gonna be me playing random games in the background while I tell y'all some life updates about me. These are gonna be either interesting or very boring to you, depending on how you see me. But this first story that I'm gonna be yapping about, it's about me finally being in a relationship. So my last relationship ended 2 years ago. Actually in eighth grade because I'm a sophomore in high school now. But eighth grade is also when I met my now girlfriend. So pretty much how everything here started was I met her in eighth grade because I just went up to her and I was like, "Hey, you don't seem to talk a lot. Why is that?" And that's just how our first interaction started. I hadn't been dating my ex yet at this time. This was earlier in the school year, and I'd started dating my ex around February of eighth grade. But pretty much, I just whatever, and me and her became friends. You know, Me and one of my other friends who I was friends with, I like to call her a thug because one day she had wore a bandana and he thought it was really funny, and I was more of a follower, so I was like, oh yeah, that's really funny, and that stuck for over 2 years actually. Uh, that's actually how I reached back out to her when we started dating again. But there's a cop right there. But pretty much it was mainly just we were friends, we were chilling. There wasn't much wasn't much activity going on, and we didn't really like hang out after school or anything like that. But fast forward to I think this was during the summer after eighth grade. I had already broken up with my ex after this. I think this was during July, and me and my ex had broken up around May. Yeah, around May after that eighth grade year had ended, and I was about to go into high school. But during that summer, she hosted a 4th of July party, and she actually was dating my friend who, uh, who I was friends with, and called her a thug and all that stuff. And I was like, whatever, you know what, cool. I'm gonna come with my friend. Me and him are gonna have fun at a party, and the party was actually really, really fun. There wasn't, anything too bad about it. And just a bunch of random stuff. Her dad had rented like a big water slide or whatever. And then also was like grilling out. So I thought that was really, really, really cool. Um, but yeah, so it was like, oh yeah, cool. I'm gonna rent a water slide, cookout, all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll come because I hadn't been, friends with people for a while, and I didn't really care about making friends right there. So basically, we pretty much just went ahead and went over. My mom had dropped me off over there because I hadn't had my car yet. I didn't have my license because I was still technically in eighth grade, although I had graduated kinda. But yeah, so I got dropped off. I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. We had to pick up my friend, his or sorry, her boyfriend at the time. But I had to go pick him up because he didn't have a ride over there, and I wasn't just gonna show up. So we went to go pick him up, and we did all that. So we were there, we hung out, we had a good time. Her friend actually was, her friend actually was there as well. So it was me and my friend, her and her friend. I didn't think her friend was like that attractive in my eyes. I actually had a crush on this girl that I'm now dating, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she's perfect. But my friend was already dating her, so I wasn't gonna be a homewrecker, and I wasn't gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna steal your girl, I'm gonna do all this. So I kept my feelings to myself, and I was like, you know what? If she likes me back, that'll happen. So it's whatever. After that, we didn't really talk. I went into ninth grade, did all my stuff, and then midway through the year, I had reached back out to her and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" This was during both of our freshman years. She went to a different school, so we didn't go to the same school. So we didn't really get a chance to communicate, but I reached back out. I was like, "Hey, how have you been?" Blah blah. And we saw each other as friends. So whatever. We were just hanging out, all that stuff. and I'd actually asked her out because I was really nervous. I was like, "Hey, you wanna go out to the movies?" And I'm trying to think what movie it was. I'm pretty sure it was the King Kong and Godzilla movie that come out. I think this was like 2022, 23, I think. I think it was like late 23. I can't remember exactly when it was. But I had asked her out to the movies, and I was like, you know what, that's really cool. And we went, and we had a great time actually. Um, of course, I paid because I'm not, a loser, and I can pay my own way. And I had a job at the time and everything. But yeah, we went to the movies, we hung out, we had a pretty pretty fun time, and both of us enjoyed it. But we didn't talk really anymore after that because I think it was my part. I didn't really, put in the effort to be like, hey, blah blah, all this, all this, all this, because I was still a little bit bummed after breaking up with my ex. I think. I think that's what it was. I can't exactly remember, but it was either that or I just wasn't in a good place in life to where I actually wanted to, go pursue this girl. But, I had still liked her and I was like, oh yeah, I mean I would still want to, but it just wasn't gonna happen, unfortunately. So all that stuff. And fast forward a couple months to where me and this girl are back to, talking on Instagram, being friends, all that stuff. And yeah, we were just hanging out, all that. We weren't hanging out, but we were just like mainly texting. And I asked her to hang out at this. It wasn't like a theme park. It was like I don't know how to. If y'all know what I don't know how to explain it without leaking where I live. But it's like this local, like indoor, like it's an indoor theme park pretty much. It was really expensive. I think it was like $30 a person, and it wasn't even that fun. But yeah, so we had all that stuff. Me and her just hung out, and we actually had a great time, and we were talking and all that stuff. And I had still liked her for a while now, but unfortunately, uh, it didn't end well, and she got back with her ex. Not the one that I was friends with, but with a different ex. Uh, from it was like 2 years before, and they were trying again. This was like mid 2024, I think. I can't remember exactly when this was, but this was. I'm not exactly sure the timeline of everything, but I think it was like 2024 or late 2024, something like that. But she had gotten back with her ex, and I was really bummed about that because I had still liked this girl, and I was like, dang, you know what? I'll get over it, but I was in the back of my mind, I was still a little bit bummed out, and it was not my greatest moment. So I had kind of left her alone after that because I had asked her out and she, kind of rejected me. So I was gonna keep pursuing that. But fast forward a couple, fuck it was probably like a couple years or whatever. Now this school year, the 10th grade school year, in September, I got myself a crush, and I thought I actually thought I was gonna get with this girl. But as y'all can see, I didn't. But I had a crush on her forever, and for some reason, I didn't take the hint that she wasn't into me, and I had to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, she wasn't into me, so wasn't really much I could do about that. But I still pursued her up until about December. Um, and I hadn't even been talking with uh my now girlfriend any point there. But I was really bummed about it. I was like, oh, finally. And I had to hear it from a friend that, I just wasn't her type. But that's besides the point. It just wasn't a fun moment, and I actually got really, really depressed in December. So it was about like 4 months ago, almost 4.5 months ago. But I got really depressed, and I was on the verge of just having a full mental breakdown every single day of my life, and I was very, I was just very upset at everything. It wasn't just because of the girl either. It was due to a bunch of other things. But that was still one of the factors, and I didn't really feel like doing anything. So I was depressed, and I just kept to myself for a couple months. So fast forward to, I would like to say the middle of February. It may have been towards the end of February. I think it was more towards the middle of February, like the 16th. But I reached back out to uh, my now girlfriend, and I was like, and I just, text her, and it started with a small text just saying, Doug, you know. I was like, wow, that's cool. Because I didn't talk to her for a while, and I saw her story. It was like something like that. But I had texted her, and I was like, ha, thug, because that was a long-lasting joke that had been lasting for over 2 years now, and I mean, I thought it was funny. But besides that, it may have been 3 years now. I can't remember. But yeah, so I was like, haha, blah, 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 all that stuff. And she was like, hi. And I was like, hi, how are you? And she was like, I've been pretty good. And we just, started chatting. It honestly, we clicked so well together. And I was like, oh, all that stuff. How's life been? And she told me, yeah, and that currently she wasn't going to school. But what the heck? Hold on. What the? Help! Why is there a tweaker? Why are you calling the cops? Chill! Where was I? But yeah, so we had started talking and all that stuff, and I asked her if she wanted to go see a movie, because I still wanted a relationship with her, and, I was still invested, so I was like, hey, you want to go to the movies? And, fun fact about me, I actually work at a movie theater, so I get tickets for free and stuff, so I was like, ha, I don't gotta spend any money. So we went to go see the movie. I think this was the Solo Mio movie that came out in February. And it was, yeah, so just the Solo Mio movie that came out, the one with Kevin James. So we went to go see it because, whatever. So it was a great movie, actually. I didn't make my move or anything, but, yeah, I didn't make my move or anything. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Uh, but I had a really, really fun time with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. All that stuff. And I just had a really, really good time. I just kicked something on my desk. But I was like, oh my gosh, I had so fun, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, yeah. And we started really flirting. Um, Honestly, I'm kind of a sucker. I did not think she was into me when, now that I look back at it, if she wasn't into me, she is the most flirtatious person of all time. But of course, my rock for a brain didn't didn't realize that she was into me because I don't have common sense when it comes to women. I'm scared of women. I'm scared of all women. So I had no clue that she was into me or anything like that. But now that I look back at it, she was very much into me, and I was very much into her. I made it very clear. But I offered to go to the park with her, and uh, it was like supposed to be like 60 that day, with the wind chill being like 50, so it wasn't even that cold. But she had texted me later that day, and she was like, before we went, she was like, hey, um, it's kind of cold today, so if you want to come over to my house instead of us going to the park, we can do that. And I was like, oh. And I had texted because I had been in a group chat with a bunch of my friends, And they were like, oh yeah, you're in that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, bro, she's inviting you over to her house. And I was like, yeah. And they had to spell it out to me that like this girl is into you. So that's kind of that's kind of when I was like, oh, okay, maybe she kind of feels the same way about me. So it was pretty much just all that, and it was a bunch of different things. But I was like, I did not think this girl would be into me. I really didn't, but apparently she was. So we hung out at her house, and I'm pretty sure the whole time we were just like, cause like I'm a big Gravity Falls nerd, and I was like, you need to see Gravity Falls because she had never seen it. And I was like, how have you never seen it? And she was like, blah, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, we're going to watch it. So whenever we got to her house, she loaded up her Xbox. We played Fortnite for a little bit because she's really invested into Fortnite. And I mean, I enjoy playing the game. So I was just like, you know what? Yeah, that's cool. But we hung out for a while. I think I was at this girl's house for like 4 hours or something like that, and I was like, yeah. So I can't. Usually I'm at her house now late at night until like 9 o'clock. I don't know if this one was during the day or not. I don't think it was. I think this one was in the afternoon. But I'm not sure. No, yes, this one was in the afternoon whenever we hung out. Or was it? No, 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 no. This one was at night because it was after school. So I went over to her house. I was there until like 9 o'clock at night. It was actually until 8 o'clock is whenever me and her just like chilled in her room. But after that had happened, uh, like after like 8 o'clock, I just went and I talked with her mom, and me and her mom, we were just chatting. We were like, oh yeah, you know what, blah blah. We started talking about like politics and all that stuff. And it was, I mean, it was whatever. We were just talking about the world, how things are going, all that stuff. But it was just a fun conversation that I had with her and her mom. Her mom's like super sweet. Like, sure, her mom loves me. I think. I hope. But like her mom, apparently it was her mom's idea to invite me over, which I still don't believe. I still feel like whatever, but it may have been her mom's idea. But her mom's super sweet, so we did all that stuff. But yeah, I went over to her house. We had a good time, really fun. And this was on a Tuesday, which now we've made a tradition where I always hang out, usually at her house on Tuesdays, because I'm in the middle of moving, so I don't want to invite her over here while it's a mess. But I will. Trust me, guys. I will invite her over to my house whenever I move in, my new house. But yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and I had a really good time. So we had scheduled another thing for the following week on Tuesday as well. But on that Sunday, this now would have been March 1st, was a Sunday. So I was like, me and her had called. We're usually called at nighttime. And sometimes we slept on the phone, which I was still really nervous. And I had asked a hint. I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like teasing her about something. And like, I was really nervous. And I was like, I want to ask you something, but I'm nervous what you're going to say. And she was like, what is it? And she was like, and I was like, wait, no, I'm nervous. And she was like telling me to do it, blah, blah. And I kept being a little wuss about it because I didn't know if like I was reading the room right. And then I started telling her, I was like, no, 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 you tell me, or you ask me, which I did, because she was like, I'll probably say the same thing or whatever. And I was like, you ask me. And she was like, no, 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 no. And then she was like, and I was like, fine. And I started getting all nervous about it again. And she was like, okay, just ask me on Tuesday in person. And I was like, wait, no, because I'm going to be even more scared in person. And she was like, okay, so ask me. So finally I built up the courage to ask her to be my girlfriend. And she said no. I'm kidding. She said yes. Um, But yeah, so now it is the 18th, and me and her have been going strong for like 3 weeks. I really hope this thing lasts because I really, really, really like this girl. And she is actually perfect. Like, she gets me. Me and her hang out all the time. We text back and forth, and like she's actually like I said before, I was really, really sad, and I really didn't like things. I was getting better before this, um, but like I was still sad. But like I feel like now like she lightens up my day every time I text her, every time I talk to her. She just lightens up my day, and I love hanging out with her. It's probably the best thing I have ever experienced. And this is my first like real relationship where I actually have feelings. My first one, I didn't really feel anything there. That was just because I wanted a girlfriend. But this girl, I actually have insane feelings for, and I would love to keep it just everything. But yeah, we've been going strong for 2.5 weeks now. I know that's not a lot of time to a lot of people, but that's a decent relationship, and I'm very, 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 very happy with it. Um, but yeah, I thank y'all for watching, hearing out my story. I appreciate y'all very much. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I will come up with another Yap story soon, and I will upload one hopefully whenever. So y'all have a good one, and I'll talk to y'all later.